This I'm gonna make a bit of a short one well, I feel like I already kinda did an update video describing how my situation has been since I've been recovering from surgery. The main thing I want to discuss this episode is what people have been calling pick-me culture. Now, what is a pick-me? Well, I would think it would mean something to do with the nose. But I guess it's more about sort of cultural movement. A lot of people say it started in the 90s. Like, a lot of people have this phrase of, oh, they're not like other girls. I guess that's kind of where it came from. The idea that even though the 90s was somehow all about girl power, which I guess today we call girl boss, still don't know if that term is a good thing or a bad thing. Eh, I'm convinced once you get over, like, I don't know, the year 25 or so, you're just kind of out of the loop. But to get back on track, the major thing that this pick-me culture was about was a way to try to make yourself a bit more unique. It was usually talked about when it comes to women trying to get attractive men. It's just like, oh, well, I'm not the one that just sits there in the kitchen all the time, or I'm not the kind of woman that cries at everything. I can do a little bit of manual labor. Kind of the idea of saying, pick me. I'm the one that's worthy. And yeah, I feel like this could be applied to a lot of things. And I guess specifically what I'm trying to talk about is how the pick-me culture is depicted within the Rainbow Alliance. Feels like they add another letter in there every year, so I figure that covers all the bases without having to trip on all the letters. LGBTQA plus I A E. I don't know. Now this is one of the things that I'm kind of for, but also against at the same time. I guess maybe I better go back to why I'm a bit more against it. For a while, the only pride flag was the rainbow flag. However, that wasn't inclusive enough. So they had to add in a few extra stripes for minorities. But what about the trans people? Just kind of chop up their own little section. The intersex people chop up another little section. The two spirits. And now it gets to the point where the flag is just a jumbled mess of colors and symbols, and unless it's really something you're in the loop of, you're just going to look at this thing and just be like, who threw up all over this? Which for me, I still say that the rainbow flag represents everyone, not just specifically gay, white men. Everyone. This is what I like to call inclusion through exclusion. Instead of saying that the flag is for everybody, it's just for a small group of people that seems to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller through each iteration. Now, I've heard a lot of people put out the theory that the main reason for this separation is so it's a lot harder for people to come together and resist oppression and whatnot. Which, I mean, I can agree with that sentiment. I mean, I think Ben Franklin said it best. United we stand, divided we fall. And well, under that circumstance, I would say things are definitely falling. But I think that's not really the example most people think of when it comes to the pick-me trans woman, the pick-me gay man. These are the people that it's like, yeah, I'm gay, but I'm not queer. And the main reason for this, and this is the reason why I agree with it, is because what even is the queer community? I mean, it just keeps changing day by day. It's like, oh, there's cat people now. You have to accept this, otherwise you're no longer trans. so I became a cis woman because I don't agree with everything. Where is the logic here? I have failed to understand this. The idea of what we agree with or disagree with, I don't see how that has to be connected with things we identify as. After all, isn't that kind of one of the things we're striving for? The idea that you can identify as anything. If you want to be non-binary, if you don't agree that people that are bi can also look straight, then that makes you either male or female again. I don't get it. And well, I feel like the division on that end just keeps getting more and more. And going back to the conspiracy theory element, it seems like, ooh, there is less unity, so all of a sudden people are passing more laws to actively oppress us. Maybe, maybe not. But at the same time, I feel like the community is doing a lot more oppressing than any lawmaker could. I know this is the problem I've been facing myself. It's very difficult to find a support group, and once again, that magical number 25, it's like, oh, well, you made it this long, you're an adult, you don't need support anymore. I don't care, I think up until the day you die, you could always use somebody in your corner. Somebody to maybe give you a hug, somebody to say, you know what, it's gonna be alright. And I feel like that sense of community, to be able to get those kind of safety nets, there's a lot more and more gatekeeping. And not just within that community. I mean, you could talk about anime, for instance, James Bond movies, animation in general. There's always just this elitist mentality of like, oh, well, you have to say that this is the best, and if you don't, then you're no longer part of the group. There's got to be a halfway in between. The ability for you to be able to agree or disagree with certain things, but yet still not get kicked out of the group because you are an individual, not a hive mind. That's really about all I have to say about the whole pick-me debate. The last thing I'll throw out there as well, which is a little bit of philosophy that's only really just kind of rattling around now, so I guess to give some context, I've been listening a lot to this fantastic podcast called Kill James Bond, which is a panel of trans and one non-binary person talking about James Bond. It's been a very confusing thing for me because I've told that because of the title it's very anti-James Bond, but yet it sounds like they're having a very fun time either making fun of it or watching it. But there was one particular episode I just finished before recording this that is really kind of sent me through a tizzy, and it was kind of the idea that the podcast was almost a means of therapy for some of the members. The ability to basically say, hey, you want me to be James Bond, but I don't want to be. And it just kind of leaves me with the idea of like, is it possible that somebody could want to be manly even though they also want to be a woman? It was a weird thing, as I almost felt like personally attacked. I wouldn't necessarily say I look up to the character of James Bond, but, well, I do have a lot of fun with the character in the movies. And yeah, obviously you can attack him all you want. No one is without fault. Let any among you without sin cast the first stone. Actually, I shouldn't say that, because in this day and age, I feel like people would cast the first stone, basically saying, aha, well, I have less sin than you do. Oh yeah, well, some people are less sinful than others, or just think back to George Orwell. Everybody is born equal. but some are born more equal than others. And so it's kind of that idea of like, the idea you're not allowed to be able to get anything good out of it. It's always one of the problems I have whenever people say stuff like that. It's like, oh, I enjoyed this. No, you didn't. How do you know what I'm thinking? And also, who gave you the authority to dictate what I can or cannot think? Actually, come to think of it, it all just kind of comes around to the same conversation, doesn't it? But that's all I've got for now. Be curious to hear your 2 cents on this subject, or if there was anything else you were curious about the world of transitioning, feel free to leave a comment down below. And as always, please, I get enough talk of politics in the real world. I at least want to not have it here. Until next time, be yourself, no matter who that is.